Hey, so I'm Patrick Moorhead. I'm the CMO of Pricefx. Welcome to Pricefx. This is our office. We've been in this facility in Carlene since 2016. This is the company headquarters, or what we would call the Global Operations Center. We took this office space on the 4th floor originally in 2016, and as the company's grown, and in 2020, we were able to acquire the lease for this space. And so we broke through the concrete ceiling and worked with a leading architect in Prague to design the rest of this office, which now has a capacity for 500 or employees or more. There's a full conference center in the back. It's full tech-enabled space. All the lighting is LED. It's fully sound wired. The cabinets are motorized. I can show you some of the other cool things that the office does later on.
Cool. Thank you, Patrick. And before we go into the introduction for you, let's just dive deep into the topic, which is we're speaking about 40 million in new pipeline, right? And that's a huge number. That's number one. And number two, it's content marketing. Content does not bring value. Or in numbers, like in dollar value, right? So is that actually true?
This is an actual slide from our board management deck from Q1, generated off of our Salesforce pipeline data at Pricefx. And what it shows in the light blue is unweighted pipeline, which is sort of unqualified opportunities that are in sales cycles. And then dark blue, which is qualified opportunities, which is kind of stage 1 and beyond. So there's a value discussion, there's proposal, there's real dollars attached, okay? Starting from March 22nd, which would be roughly 5 or 6 months after we launched the content marketing strategy that I'm going to give you an overview of tonight. So 6 months into the content marketing strategy, we were sitting at just shy of 50 million in unweighted pipeline and just a little bit over 20 million in qualified pipeline at the company, okay, in March of last year. So you fast forward through that chart to February, the chart ends, and we ended February this year at 70 million in unweighted pipeline and over 20 in qualified pipeline. So you can see the percentage increases on the slide. Today, I would tell you that in the months between February and today, we are approaching 80 million in unweighted pipeline and pushing towards 27, 28 in qualified opportunity. It's the strongest sales pipeline our company has ever had. And it's occurred within an 18-month period.
Wow. Did you achieve something else? If we speak about content marketing, what else did you achieve?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things we've achieved. And I'll talk about some of the metrics and KPIs and things that we use to evaluate how our content is performing and how it's driving the business a little bit later in the deck. But I'll summarize it by saying it's everything from organic search ranking to website traffic to individual user session duration on the site to the efficiency of our ad spend is impacted by our content marketing. There's a lot of things that have spun out of the implementation of what we've done here.
Well, that's awesome. So I think everyone is intrigued. So now we can go to the beginning, go to the introduction. And I think I was doing my homework, doing my research, and I found out that you actually started in creative. You studied art in university,
right.
But you realize that that's not how to make money. So that's why I went into the ad agency, and you moved on to sales, where you're working for Twitter before their IPO.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then you moved back to marketing, and where you came here to Pricefx. So looking at that journey and those steps, I think the natural question would be, would you work for Twitter right now?
No, I would not. Most of the colleagues that I worked with at Twitter don't work there anymore. Once Elon took over the company and started doing what he's doing, and I'm not here to say whether what he's doing is good or bad, but I will tell you that the flock, as we called ourselves, that worked there under Jack Dorsey, who was the inventor, founder of Twitter, have largely left the nest under new leadership.
All right. So maybe let's get back to you. What brought you here? So you are coming from Chicago. The
Yes.
majority of your professional career has been in Chicago.
Yeah.
Why are you in Prague right now?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Let's talk about that. The simple answer is COVID. And the sort of second part to that is sort of personal goals around the type of life that I wanted my kids to have, right? And the two things coinciding. I lived in Chicago with my wife and kids for more than a decade. I had 5 or 6 different jobs while I worked there, including Twitter. I worked in big ad agencies and software companies, large and small. And when COVID happened, I think we realized that we didn't want to stay in that city. There was just some changes happening. And I don't know if you've seen the news about what life is like in Chicago recently, but it has not gotten better from a crime and taxes and all the things. My wife and I had always kind of been interested in cultivating language and sort of a worldview for our kids that was beyond the US mentality. My oldest son was in French immersion language school in Chicago because we wanted him at least to have that skill. And so it was on our minds when COVID happened. And then Marcin Chacon, who's the founder and at the time was the CEO of Pricefx, who's based in Munich, and he would spend, he would come back and forth between Munich and the office here on a regular basis. And I were on the phone, obviously, almost every day during COVID, trying to figure out how to, virtualize the business and what we were going to adjust the budget and all the things, right? And he and I got to a place, which turned out to be wrong, but we got to a place where we sort of believed that the COVID travel restrictions were going to be permanent. And he and the board of directors really felt strongly that they wanted to consolidate key leadership roles in Europe. Most of our investors are in Europe. He's in Munich. Our head of product is based in Prague. And so the conversation happened of, hey, would you be open to this? Is it possible? And we, that kind of connected with things that we had talked about in my family. And yeah, so we moved here at the end of 2020 while the Czech Republic was closed and all of it was closed. It was not the ideal time to relocate, but it's been a wonderful change for my family and certainly, working in this office space and getting to know the marketing community in Prague has been amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Alec. Thank you for hosting us in Pricefx. I think it's a very nice office, so thank you for having us here. And what is actually Pricefx? So for people who did not do their homework.
Yeah. Pricefx is a SaaS software product for enterprise B2B. And the product really manages, it does 3 things for big businesses. So it gives them intelligence on how their pricing is working, how their products are selling and at what price points and where they're losing and have opportunities to make money. It allows them to then adjust their pricing at a per product level or at a product category, portfolio, or even regional and global level on the fly, dynamically, and then deliver those prices into the hands of the commercial organization, field sales, and the like, to make sure that the prices that are set in governance in a business ultimately wind up in the order forms and neutralize revenue leakage and optimize profitability at the deal level. That's the simplest way that I can explain it. We call it price optimization and management. There's an AI layer to it. It can ingest a whole variety of different data. It can ingest the main data we ingest is ERP data, CRM data, transactional data. But we have customers where we use weather information. And we have a customer in Europe, Ticket Corner, where we actually absorb historical volume data for lift for ski slope traffic, right? So how many people were on the mountain on a particular day and what the conditions were on that day, which allows us to forecast optimal pricing for pre-purchase of lift tickets online for them, which has grown their business over 1,000% in 3 years, as an example. Our big customer, we work primarily with $1 billion plus revenue customers. Bosch was our first customer, still one of our largest. Michelin, Shell Oil, There's a lot of them. You can see a lot of them on our website. But big companies that manage tons of products, that have very complicated pricing and promotion and rebate schemes that are incredibly difficult to manage in Excel. And we replace Excel in the organization with a robust SaaS automation that actually can deliver bottom line results.
This actually makes the topic even more interesting, that you are attracting those big enterprise customers. So one would not think that those buyers will be interested to go and read some blog posts, right? They are not interested in content marketing. So most in the cases, it's direct sales kind of business, right? So maybe you can start at the beginning of your time here at Pricefx. So when you came to the company, what was the situation? What was the challenge that you saw in marketing?
Yeah, I mean, when I got to Pricefx, there really wasn't marketing. Tolu, who's sitting against the wall, and who I have to give total credit for what I'm about to show you, because she's been the implementer of this strategy, and those results really belong to her. Tolu worked here. The other two women that were here in marketing no longer work here. Today, our marketing team is 15 people, I think, globally, right? We started at 3. And the company had no marketing. And Tolu and I spent the first, I think, year of working together here, working out content marketing and thinking about what we were going to do. But we were taking a very conventional approach. We were thinking we need to publish thought leadership. We need to come up with topics that show how smart we are, right? How much we know about the business of pricing and about software and our AI and we need to talk about our experts, right, that are so smart, and explain how smart we are and how good we are. And that's what I would call a conventional content marketing strategy, right? We're going to write articles about those topics. But it became clear after some time that there were kind of 2 sets of challenges that we had. And I think these challenges are common to almost any business, but in particular enterprise sales. And challenge number 1 is the internal challenge, which is sales and marketing do not get along. They don't speak the same language. Salespeople at this company used to say, a marketing team's great. They are lovely people. They do great catering. They you know, if I need a PowerPoint, I know who to call. But they don't really help me make money. Like, I don't think marketing is helping me hit my quarterly number. It's definitely not helping me make my commission. I don't really understand how the website is helping me close this deal for 250,000 euros, right? So meanwhile, marketing is saying, we are killing ourselves. We're writing all this stuff, right? We're designing all this stuff. We're making this great website. We're trying to gather all this data and be so smart. And salespeople don't care. And that sucks, because we're kind of doing it for them, right? And so this tension existed here, right? I think that salespeople generally thought of marketing as sort of like a really expensive cool kids club. And I won't say what the marketing team thought about sales.
I think you are safe. Are there any salespeople here? Oh, shit. Okay. So,
Just go like this.
Yeah.
You know. No, it's not. Look, sales has to work, and marketing has to work for sales. And that was a key insight, right? But so we had this problem. That was problem number 1. Problem number 2 is an external problem, which is this. In the last 10 years, the buyer journey for B2B software and SaaS software has flipped from being sales-led to marketing-led. Marketing drives revenue, not sales. This was a highly controversial point internally, where we have classic veteran enterprise salespeople who believe that it's about steak dinners and relationships and text messages, and that's how things get sold. But the data is clear. Today, in high intent, highly complex purchase decisions, often that involve multiple stakeholders, the buying decision happens online, period. The buying decision happens for the buyer before they ever meet a salesperson. The buyer for highly complex, expensive enterprise solutions wants education so they can make a decision, and then they want to talk to a salesperson to figure out how to buy, not what to buy, not to be convinced. The convincing happens where? Online. It can happen online on your website, or it can happen online somewhere else. But it will happen online. So the question becomes, where is your buyer getting smart, and who is teaching them? Is it you, or is it G2? Or is it Capterra? And if you think that G2 and Capterra have your story, understand your product, know how to explain the values and benefits of your software to your buyer for you, then good, then they're doing their job. But likely they don't and aren't. And your voice isn't there to say they're right or wrong anyway, right? So this, as controversial as it is true. That buyers want to be self-sufficient, they want to educate themselves, they want to do it online, and they're looking for trusted resources to become smarter buyers, and they don't really care where that resource comes from. And they only want to talk to salespeople once they've made their decision, right? Our salespeople were spending a ton of time educating buyers in meetings instead of helping the buyer figure out how to buy the product that they were interested in, right? So there's an opportunity here for two things. One, make smarter buyers, qualify better, faster, disqualify faster. That's a key advantage, right? And then also save salespeople a ton of time, because if you do this right, salespeople don't have to teach the customer how to buy the product that they're interested in. They can focus on how the product solves the customer's problem. Okay? I know you have a question. We're going to say them until the end. Yeah? Thank you. So those are the problems.
Like, I think one important thing here that probably the majority will agree on, we always have been thinking about from the B2C point of view for content marketing, right? So we're always creating content in either the B2C side or in B2B, whereas you are attracting a lot of buyers in a smaller scale, like SMBs. Yeah. But when it comes to the large enterprises, we always think, oh, this is direct sale thing. The content does not fit in there, which what you are saying is, no, it's not how it's working anymore.
It's the opposite. Yeah.
So what did you do? So what was the first step that you took?
So Tolu and I spent a lot of time talking about this. I'm not in the pricing business. I'm not from the pricing business. So one of my observations coming to this business after my previous company was bought was, God, people in pricing are just talking about pricing all the time. It's pricing people talking about pricing to other pricing people. And it's just like pricing. It's like the same one note song, like over and over again, right? So we were spending a lot of time sort of discussing, like, how can we reinvigorate the conversation? How can we take the middle of this conversation, right? Because everyone's talking around the edges. Everyone's talking about themselves. How can we go to the center and become the middle of the marketplace dialogue? And we were playing with a bunch of ideas. We had come up with this idea at one point called the lemonade stand, where we were going to try and use this metaphor of kids with a table selling cups of lemonade to people on the street. It's sort of a simple way to show about pricing and how pricing concepts can work. And it didn't work. We were still doing our kind of thought leadership stuff, and we weren't really sure. I was reading a ton of books, business books, trying to find guidance on what's the content, what can the content marketing strategy look like, how are other people doing it, and over the winter of 2020, I stumbled upon this book from one of our agency partners, the agency that actually built our website here, Impact Plus. They're a U.S. agency. It's an agency founded by the author of this book, Marcus Sheridan, and this agency built our website. And I would be on calls with the agency team that was building the website, and I would see this book over the shoulder of my account executive on the shelf. And so eventually I was like, what is the book? And she was like, oh, you didn't know? And I was like, no. And she said, you should read the book. I'll send you a copy. So she sent me a copy. I read it in 3 days over Christmas from 20 to 21. And as soon as I closed the book, I said, this is what we're doing. I knew it was right for us. It's not intuitive. The book is about Marcus's business, which was a company in North Carolina in the US that sold fiberglass swimming pools. Okay? Fiberglass swimming pools. River Pools company still exists. One of the biggest pool companies in the US now. And during the 2008 financial crisis in the United States, all the money that people had to buy things like swimming pools evaporated into thin air, and Marcus's business nearly went bankrupt, forcing him to come to this tough but amazing realization that he wrote into a book called They Ask You Answer. And this book is a global bestseller. It's translated into 60 languages. It's phenomenally successful. I was just with him in Chicago last week for his annual conference for people that do this. Read the book. Read the book. Here's what I took away from the book and what we wound up doing here at Pricefx that drove these numbers. The point of the book is pretty simple. Once you accept that buyers want to educate themselves and they want to do that online, then your challenge is, how do I become the person that they return to over and over again for the information they want before they buy? How do I become the trusted educator of the buyer? Right? He identifies in the book 5 questions that all humans ask before they go to buy something. They're not a secret. How much does it cost? What could go wrong? How's it going to break? Right? How does it compare to the other product that I'm also considering? Right? What's great look like? What's the best of the best? Right? And what am I missing, Tolu? Price, problems. No, price is cost. Oh, best of, right? So rankings, right? Head-to-head comparisons, rankings, customer reviews, problems, and costs. And if you think about when you go to buy television, Alza, you kind of run that same play on Alza, right? You're like, all right, what's the reviews? What's the warranty, right? And so the idea is, if you answer, by the way, most businesses, especially in B2B enterprise businesses, avoid answering most of those questions on their website. We do not talk about price. Never talk about how much it costs. It's too expensive. The buyer will get scared. Marcus would say, bullshit. Your buyer for enterprise software knows it's expensive. They know. They just want to know the number. They don't think there's no number you're going to shock a company like Exxon with when it comes to an investment in software. They're not going to be shocked, but yet we approach them as, if we put pricing on our website, they're going to get scared and they're not going to buy us. It's a bias and it's false. It's an example, right? So answer those 5 kind of questions and do it well, do it honestly, do it authentically, and do it from a place of education without an eye towards the outcome. You're not selling. You can't sell. No one wants to be sold to anyway. You're teaching the buyer how to be a good buyer. Let go of the idea that they are going to buy you. Trust that if you teach them how to be a good buyer, they will buy from you. You will get more than your fair shares of your deals, right? As a result. And the people that don't get it, the buyers that don't get what you're doing when you're educating, well, they're probably not great customers anyways, and they can go waste your competitor's time, which actually works out really well as well, right? So answer buyer questions honestly and with an educator's point of view to build trust, engagement, and qualification, and remove education cycles from sellers. Okay, that's a key efficiency. Number 2, make the website your primary salesperson. It already is. You're just not treating it like that. The buyer wants to buy from your website, not your product. They want to buy your story. They want to trust you. They want to learn about what's going to go wrong if I buy this, or what could go wrong, or what mistakes have been made, or what do other customers talk about, or how do you stack up against your competitors, right? And right now, the only person telling them about you versus their competitors is G2. So we decided, well, we're gonna talk about our competitors. So we actually publish and republish every year head-to-head comparisons of us versus our main competitors. On our own website, we developed an 8-point framework where we evaluate ourselves and the competitor against this objective framework. And guess what? Some categories of our framework, they win on our website. And when we did that, our salespeople were super uncomfortable because they would go to an article that said Pricefx versus pros. And number 4, we would say, actually, pros is better. Yeah. Which defies all convention in sales and marketing. You never admit weakness. You only say the good things, right? But what happened is, because we were telling the truth, people believed what we said. And then what was really interesting is now in sales cycles, people will pull out the web page from our website and hold it up to pros and say, what about this? And pros will say, oh, well, they made it all up, but they gave you category 4 and category 6. They said, you're better. Is it true? Well, I mean, it's super interesting, right? The point is, pros buyers are learning how to buy from them on my website, right? Okay. And the third one is marketing and sales. Marketing works for sales. Full stop. We source content ideas from sellers. That's where we figure out what the buyer's questions are, because they tell us. We go away and we make those into content and we give them back to sales. And guess what happens? Sales says, this content's awesome because I told you that I needed it. And so now I'm going to send it to my buyer. And the buyer says, this answers my question. Thanks. And the salesperson says, great. Now I have a blog post I can send instead of scheduling half-hour meeting after half-hour meeting to explain what's the implementation process with SAP. Right?
Like after I met you the first time, you suggested the book for me. I definitely went to, I read the book and learned a lot from it. And as always happens, you go for a conference or you read a book and you learn something new. Yes, we have to do that. This is the right way to do it. But then you go pitch it to management or even sales and no, that's not what we want to do. Yeah. So especially that this is a long-term strategy, right? So once you start implementing that, you're not going to see leads tomorrow, right? So how did you manage to get the buy-in from management?
I'm sneaky and crafty and clever.
So can you teach us that?
No, that comes with me. No. Look, I'm lucky for a couple things. I have a really close, good trust relationship with our CEO. He believed in what I was doing in marketing in general. And when I came to him and said, we have to do this, it's going to be painful. Sales is going to hate it. I'm going to need like $250,000 to do this. It's not in the budget. You know, we have the kind of relationship where he said, you know, okay, like, please, you know, what's it going to do and how are you going to do it? And I explained it and off we went. I didn't know if it was going to work. Tolu, I think, was probably terrified, or maybe she trusted me as much I trusted as Martian trusted me. And then it was a lot of educating internally. Person by person, going to the salespeople, going to the sales leadership, going to the sales operations people, going to the finance people, and explaining what I just explained to you about what the buyer reality is, what our competitors aren't doing, right? Teaching, educating, answering the hard questions that we're all avoiding about cost and problems and how we compare to each other. And eventually won them over, and in budget committee got the money, and hired some more people for Tolu and hired a coach from Marcus's agency Impact and started doing the thing. And we really just started. We set the goal of publishing 3 blog posts a week is what we started out doing. We committed to publishing 3 blog posts a week on those 5 topics, right? Cost, problems, comparisons, best of, and reviews, right? 3 blog posts a week, do or die. It's got to be that way. And we started in September. And it was a while before anything happened. This chart, though, shows you what did happen, which is we launched the strategy in October of 2021. And by February of the dates on that, October, December, January. Oh yeah, no, it was October 21. We launched the first blog post. It was called, How Much Does Pricing Software Cost? And we published 3 blog posts a week consistently. And by February of the following year, we had moved from number 4 average organic search ranking globally for pricing, then number one. And we've been there ever since. The interesting note in there is that Pros, who is arguably our biggest competitor, is the pink line, I think, in that, right? Pink line. They are 5 times bigger than we are. They are $1 billion, publicly traded on NASDAQ pricing software company with 10 times the amount of people that we have at Pricefx. But if you search for any pricing related topic online, we look bigger because we own all the organic search results globally, right? So once we started to get the data that showed that the strategy was working in the first 6 months, then it became easier, I should say. Then we started to get buy-in from sales. We started to get collaboration with our solution architects and with our pre-sales engineers and our subject matter experts internally, not about doing thought leadership, but about helping us write articles that answered the buyer questions that the salespeople were telling us they were tired of answering.
Right. So before we go into how did you come up with these content topics and how were you writing them, I want to come back to the relation between sales and marketing. And you mentioned 2 different points. One is marketing is the one who is responsible for generating revenue.
Yeah.
And the second, you said marketing is servicing sales.
Yes.
Right? So what exactly is the goal of marketing?
Yeah.
What are your main KPIs?
Yes. Great question. Our goal at Pricefx Marketing is fill the top of the funnel as much as possible through traffic to the website and converting that traffic into some form of qualification. And then qualifying the hell out of those people. And not us qualifying them, but providing the capability for them to qualify themselves, right? Because now on our website, we have 250 plus pieces of content from the Ask You Answer, answering all kinds of questions that buyers have about pricing software. And we have enough content now that we can look at an individual user who's given us their email address to get an ebook or engaged with our chatbot. And we can tell based on what they're reading, why they're interested in us and what they want to buy, which is gold for sales. And we can go to our salespeople and say, hey, listen, there's 3 people from this company in California. They've been repeatedly visiting our website, spending 3, 4, 5 minutes per session on the site, and they're reading all about our integration capability with SAP ERP. So maybe reach out and tell them, here's another article about that. Or if you have specific questions about something that you read, let me know, right? That is a whole different level of qualification than we used to have. So I believe that our job is to save salespeople's time and energy by educating their buyers and qualifying their buyers through education to the point that when salespeople get involved, they are getting involved with a qualified, ready to buy customer who needs help closing.
And what are you accountable for? So is it number of leads? Is it revenue?
So the double-edged sword of healing our relationship with sales is that marketing has a quota, right? And actually the sales and marketing organization is one group. And I would tell you at Pricefx today, it's fundamentally different than the slide I showed at the beginning. Our Pricefx salespeople say, our marketing rocks. I love these articles. I send them to my customers. They help me. My customers reference them. My leads are super qualified. We actually have the problem, and I'm not making this up, that some of our salespeople right now are facing so much qualified pipeline that they are struggling to manage servicing all the deals, right? For real. Like we have too much pipeline right now.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, it's a really good problem. I always tell our team, right? We're in the business of making really high quality problems for sales. They're on board. Like they love it. They get it, right? They don't do time wasting calls anymore. They get on the phone with buyers, and they're having very strategic, focused conversations with those buyers. So we own the revenue number just the way sales does. we have some different targets, but at the end of the day, we're getting measured on, did we hit our quarterly number or not in revenue booked, right? We look at a bunch of other KPIs, you know, how quickly do deals close? How high is the average contract price? You know, million marketing metrics around ad efficiency and organic search and site traffic and user experience on the website and all those things that help us in the technical implementation of the content, right? And evaluate if we're doing a good job, right? But really what matters is sales happy with what we're giving them? And by happy, I mean, are they using it to close deals and make money? Yeah. And are we hitting our revenue numbers? Right. And so another interesting note that I couldn't write down in the deck, but I'll say out loud in the room is in Q3 of 21, that was probably the worst sales quarter we've ever had at this company. We didn't close a single new piece of business in Q3 of 21. And then we launched this strategy. And starting from Q1 of 22, we have not missed a quarterly revenue target. And each quarter's revenue target has gone up from the consecutive quarter. The last 2 quarters of last year, we broke company records for quarterly revenue. And we have continued to hit quarterly revenue numbers. And we're going on, it looks like another one. So it's going to be 6 consecutive quarters of growth in revenue. And for us, growth is we're growing at 65% year over year. So it's a lot of growth. Yeah.
That's impressive. I think for the majority of us, content marketing is a channel, part of the mix of channels marketing has. And I might be wrong, but it looks to me that this is that channel for you, right? So how is actually the marketing team structured and how your focus is divided? Yeah.
So the marketing team at Pricefx is pretty straightforward. We have content and creative team, and then we have the activation team. We do all of our content creation in-house, including video, graphic design, writing, publishing, website admin, the whole soup to nuts on the content and creative side. And then on the activation side, we also do all of our own in-house media. So we do all of our own planning and buying. We run all of our own Google search. That sounds like I have an army of people, but like I said, it's 15 people, right? So we use a lot of automation. We build a lot of process efficiency in and around what we're doing. We do all of our own event marketing. We do all of our own partner marketing, right? So we have in-house everything that we used to hire out for agencies. We just built it in-house because it's just easier to run and manage. And so to your point, like for us, content marketing is not a channel. It's actually a strategy of what are we saying to the marketplace about what we're selling? How are we teaching them? And then the channels are like, okay, so we're teaching them about how much pricing software costs, and we're going to do that through a blog post, and we're going to do some video, and we're going to use social media. And by the way, we're going to take the content from the blog post and we're going to promote it through paid social. And we're also going to do organic social. And it all the channel stuff is powered by the content strategy. And the strategy is answer buyer questions honestly and answer the questions that they want to know the answer to. And you can do that in any channel, right? Tolan and I came back from Chicago. We were talking with Marcus last week, and we're going to get started in short form video, in vertical video and short form video. When I went to Chicago 2 weeks ago, I, like probably a lot of people don't want to admit, spend some time scrolling on TikTok. And I would always think to myself, like, there's no way I can sell pricing software on TikTok. I am changing my mind. Maybe not on TikTok, but short form video is the cheap digital real estate. And now's the time to build a strategy. That's the idea that we're taking. And so how do you create quick snack size pieces of content that answer those questions and do it in a way that can go natively into short form on LinkedIn, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, right? When you separate the strategy from the channel, and the strategy is around the buyer need, then you can figure out all kinds of ways to do the channel execution.
So I think that's a very important point here, which is the content strategy, right? Because you can hire writers, you can have some freelancers. People can write, but what are they going to write about?
Right.
And this is the main struggle that we always have.
Correct.
Right. So, and you mentioned that you are publishing 3 articles per week.
Yes.
Where do you come up with these content topics?
From sales. So our process that we run, and I say we, it's Tolu that runs it. Our process is we regularly are interviewing our field sales team, and we are asking them, what questions are your buyers asking you? Not what do you think they're asking you? The verbatim, what are they saying, right? And we're interrogating the way that sales answer those questions. So what are they asking you? How did they say it? In what context? What was the next question that they asked you, right? What do you think they meant? How did you want to answer it? Did you have a piece of content that you could use to answer it? Or did you wish you had a piece of content and describe that piece of content you wish you had that you could have answered the question? And that is our choice point. And it is unlimited. I think our content production calendar right now probably has a backlog of 3 or 4 months worth of information that we've collected from sales. Guess why? Because people buying expensive software have a lot of questions, and we have to go answer every single one of them. And they're different questions. If it's retail versus the chemical manufacturing industry versus the parts distribution agency, they're all related to those 5 kinds of questions, but the way they ask them and the way the answer has to go for them to get smarter looks different. So it's like an unlimited source of ideas. Unlike thought leadership, where you have to sit around and go, okay, how can we sound smart, right? How can we differentiate by, coming up with some new way to look at this thing? You can't, right? And even if you can, the buyer doesn't really care. The buyer wants to know, hey, can you just explain to me, how often does it break? How often am I going to have to take it to the shop? What's your help desk like? Is it easy? Because I know it's going to break. But if you tell me you have a good help desk and you explain to me how the help desk works so I feel comfortable about how to submit a ticket and what the response time is going to be, then okay, let's keep talking, right? That's the difference.
But I think the thing here that it sounds like the majority of this content is about your own platform, which I'm sure is not true.
No.
So yeah, how to come up with topics in that category rather than your own platform.
Yeah, I think that goes back to sort of taking the stance of educator versus seller, right? And so we tend to avoid talking about ourselves if we can. And you can look at the content on our website, and what you'll find is that 80-90% of each article is about a topic that we're teaching, right? We're using our experts to teach the world how to think about it. And then at the end, we feel we've earned the right to say, hey, by the way, we do some stuff with this, or our tool's particularly good at this, or our tool's not particularly good at this, right? You should talk to the other guy if this is what you're interested in doing. We do that stuff too, right? The educator versus seller is the mindset shift, right? Which is, a smarter buyer is a better buyer. And I only want smart buyers. So I'm on a mission to make all buyers smarter with full understanding that not all buyers are going to buy me. That's okay. That's okay. But if I make every buyer smarter, then the only buyers that are going to buy me are going to be smart buyers. And sales loves smart buyers because they ask smart questions. They move faster. They buy more. There's more trust. All the things. Yeah.
And how many content writers do you have actually?
Right now we have 2 full-time writers, maybe 3 if you take half of Tolu and half of me.
So you are writing yourself?
Sometimes, yeah. I've written not nearly as much as our writing team, but a couple here and there.
Nice. Yeah. And you mentioned also video content, so it's not only written content. Yeah,
that's right. So there's a huge video piece to that strategy. I think video is the new video is so important, particularly in enterprise sales. I think the data that we cite is there was a survey done in the last 18 months of enterprise sales professionals, and they asked, are you planning to implement video in your sales process in the next year? And only 49% of sellers said that they would. And the way that we read that is that's 50% of salespeople that we're competing with that aren't using video. And so we can use video and it'll be a competitive advantage for us. And so we're doing things like implementing one-to-one video in email, right? So we're using Drift, but you could use Vidyard for this as well. We are getting to the point where we are instructing our salespeople that as a follow-up to a call, they send a video, not an email that you have to read, but a video. Hey, it's great talking with you. Just want to give you a quick recap. Set time for next week, whatever it is, right? And guess what happens? Like our engagement with those buyers is up. The trust is high. The meetings are getting scheduled more regularly. Our SDRs are using video and getting more lead conversion off of it. So that's a big deal. We have been able to hire a full-time videographer internally. That's Fareed over there on Tolu's team. And Fareed's focused on taking that big 5 content idea strategy and turning it into videos that of salespeople teaching buyers, because video gives you a face and it's relatable. And look, what we're really selling is trust at the end of the day. People buy from people that they trust. We want to be the trust earner, the trust educator in pricing. And the best way to build trust is to put a face with the words. So that's why video is super important.
So I think we cannot go to some event to meet someone who does speak about ChatGPT. And since you only have two and a half writers, so how are you approaching that?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a big topic. We talked a lot about it in Chicago. We are using it. We're using it in a variety of ways. I've heard that our content writers really love feeding their content to ChatGPT and having it spit back SEO and SERP suggestions and taxonomies for optimizing search, which is great because we know what we're writing is already calibrated for organic performance, but ChatGPT takes hours of work out of the true kind of precision SEO work that we need to do. So we're using it for that. It can be great for summarizing stuff, right? So taking a 3,500 word article and getting a machine version back that's 1,500 words. We never publish anything raw out of AI, right? Everyone's going back through and tweaking and editing and making choices, and that has to be true. But I think another interesting, and our graphic designers are using it too. We have graphic designers who are using Midjourney to build images for our social media posts to go along with the content. And we've got some really interesting results there. AI, this is what we heard in Chicago. I believe this is true. And I told this to our CEO today. AI is not a if, it's a when. The when is going to be sooner than you think. And AI is coming at you. You do not have to go and find it and figure it out. It is coming towards you. In the last 4 months, all major software companies have announced that they will integrate ChatGPT or similar type of AI features into their products that are on your desktop today. Microsoft has an AI assistant that will just show up in Office 365 any day now. Google Workspace has the same, right? It is just going to, in the next 6 months, that AI capability for generative AI, for text, for images, for video, right? I saw this company last week, Runway, text to video. And it's crazy. The better you can describe a scene of a movie, it will go away and render it. And it can look like Quentin Tarantino, or it can look like old Disney, or like whatever. It's crazy, right? So it's going to happen to you. And the attitude that we have to take is we've got to figure out how to deal with it, right? We got to figure out how to use the robots, or we're going to become obsolete. That's not to say that the content writers that we have are going to get replaced by AI, but their jobs are going to change. Their jobs might actually change from writing content to writing prompts that help write content, right? And prompt writing is a totally different new genre of writing that no one knows anything about, right? So I'm bullish on AI. It's coming at us. We're trying to put policies here together around AI strategies. It's going to touch everything in this company in the next 12 months.
And do you see it as a threat to you and to this strategy? Like other competitors just using AI to create shit ton of content and...
No, I don't. I think human creativity, you can't replicate it. And there's a lot of artistry, I think, that goes into understanding what humans mean when they ask questions and understanding what a trustworthy answer to a question is. I don't think a computer can figure that out on a language model yet. So I'm safe for now.
Unless they can speak to your salespeople. So,
Yeah.
all right. So I think the other side of the content will be the SEO. So is that something that you have on top of mind?
Yeah.
Or you just care about creating value for yourself, for your customers, and
No, I think,
SEO
you know,
comes
what
after.
I think is interesting, and again, I'll go back to the search slide, right? Like this didn't happen. We didn't move from rank 4 to rank 1 global organic because we got better at SEO. We moved from rank 4 to rank 1 because we got better at answering questions that people were searching for answers for. And so the better we got at answering the questions that people were already asking, the more our article showed up as the answer to their question. And then the search engine started to learn when someone asks, what is price optimization? What's the best price optimization? How much does pricing software cost? The content, we could have done it probably with no SEO around it, right? Because what we're saying is actually responding to the search query volume that's already out there, which goes back to sort of my original point. Who's teaching your buyer about you? Assume your buyer's asking questions, trying to figure out how to buy the thing that you're selling or something like it. Somebody is answering that question via Google. And is it you? That's what happened here, is we decided to just put away the thought leadership and just focus on what are the questions that buyers want answers to, and we're going to answer them for them. And that's how that happens.
So we went through how you work with the sales team, how did you structure the marketing team,
Yeah.
and how you come up with the content topics,
Yeah.
and how do you write them. And the last point would be, how are you measuring your success? What tools are you using for that?
Classic, right? So we're like probably everyone else moving to GA4, even though we don't love it.
Did you already move? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we did. We moved 6 months ago. Still don't like it. GA4, you know, we're a WordPress shop, WordPress, Salesforce. We're Marketo backbone with Adobe Visible as our funnel automation, and Salesforce. So we're Marketo, Salesforce backbone, WordPress website. We use Drift, and we're increasingly using a lot of Drift chatbot features. Chatbot is our #1 converting tool on our website. Our visitors love talking to our chatbot. I can't wait to turn on AI in the chatbot because people already love it. And then we book more meetings from our chatbot than any other place on our website. And can't wait until that thing is actually not like a scripted. When it's like responsive, it's going to be something special, right? Those are the tools, you know, and then Google Analytics, Looker Data Studio, all the thing, any place we can get data. We use Tableau internally for some stuff. We use Excel for some stuff that we can't figure out how to measure any other way. So we use a lot of different stuff. But like I said, the ultimate measure at the end of the day is, did we hit the number in the quarter, right? Is sales happy with the deals that they closed? Did we post another record deal? Did we post another record quarter? That's how we're measuring. Everything else is just sort of like tweaking the parts in the engine to make sure that the car's driving fast. But the parts in the engine don't win the race, the car does.
And what's some of the most successful content that you have?
Right now, our top 10 content is all around this series about pricing strategies by different industries, as you can imagine, right? So this is a classic where like 5 or 6 big pricing software companies and no one is putting any information out about like, what does a pricing strategy for the food and beverage industry look like? Amazing, right? You're literally selling the software, but we're the company that's publishing the content, and it's all the top 10. So all the like pricing strategy for food and beverage, pricing strategy for distribution, pricing strategy for, right? That's our top 10. We'll get some that peek through like rebate strategies for airlines when there's events in the world, or, you know, and then we have kind of the stable, how much does pricing software cost? 5 reasons our pricing projects fail. That's been a popular article, right? And believe me, when we published that, I got a call from our sales guy in California. We don't fail. We don't talk about failing. I was like, yeah, we do, and we are going to talk about it. And here's what I want you to do. And now, if you asked him today, he would say, "This is my favorite piece of content. I send it to my buyer, and they'll read it, and I'll get on the phone with them, and they're like, it's really cool that you guys are honest. Like, not all your projects go well, and I learned a lot of some couple things that I can avoid in my company that I probably would have done if you hadn't told me that that's going to cause my project to fail. So that's really cool, and they trust him, right?"
Cool. So one last question before we move to the audience question.
Yeah.
If we are to start implementing that strategy, what are some of the pitfalls that you went through that you would advise? Okay, like, be careful. We did that mistake. Don't do it.
There's probably 2 or 3 big ones, I would say. You can't do only part, right? So you have to read the book. The book is the quickest way to catch the vision of the whole thing. It's super easy. You're going to learn a ton about fiberglass swimming pools. And then you'll learn a lot about everything that we talked about here. And it'll be really obvious to you when you read the book how you can apply it into your own business. It's designed that way, right? I don't think, if you're going to do this, you got to do it 100%. You cannot just do the cool content part and not do the part where you teach sales how to use the content. You cannot just do the content blog post part and not build your website to manage search volume and convert on content and measure conversions into the funnel and all the stuff, right? You can't just do the blog stuff and not do the video stuff, right? You can't do just the marketing stuff and not have the salespeople along for the ride and collaborating with you to help the content, right? You can't do any of it without buy-in at the top from leadership that says, we are going to become this company that's going to be honest. Because guess what? You're going to say some things that are probably going to make some old school salespeople kind of uncomfortable, right? We're going to talk about failing. We're going to talk about how much it really costs. We're going to sometimes say our competitors are better than we are at certain things because it's true. But you have to be honest in order to earn trust. And if your CEO and your CSO or your CRO is not on board with that, you're probably not going to get it done.
Cool. Thank you very much.